Hi, I'm Nick Danton, and welcome to the Consumer's Advocate, the one and only place where we bring in the top wealth advisors in the world, and they will show you how to preserve, protect, and even grow your money as you prepare for retirement. I've got a great guest for you today, Mr. Michael Canet. Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Nick.
So I know you're outside the Baltimore, Washington area, and you work with a lot of clients there, and you do a lot of unique things. You and I have spent quite a bit of time together. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about kind of your firm and how you work?
Well, we take a little bit different approach to the planning process. You know, I think traditionally people have sat down with a financial advisor in the past and they have helped them with how to invest their money, sometimes well, sometimes not so well. And we take a little bit more holistic approach to the planning process. Not only is it how to invest the money, but taking the least amount of risk possible to accomplish the goals. And really it's all about what is the goal. Too often it's just how much risk can you tolerate, let's just invest money. But as a financial planner, we look at everything that has a dollar sign involved with it. Estate planning, tax planning, risk management, legacy planning. There's so much more involved with life than just where do I invest my money. You can get that anywhere, but if you want something that's more specific, designed for you personally and your family, you use a financial planner like us.
Got it. And what got you into this? What was your main mission and vision that you said, man, I got to help people with their money?
Yeah, it's interesting. I tell this story about growing up. I grew up in the foster care system, lived in foster homes, lived in a children's shelter. I was adopted when I was 13. We used to have what we called bent can surprise. And at the grocery store, you would have the cans that had no labels on them that were dented. And every night, one of the kids had to pick a can off the shelf, and that was part of our dinner. And you just hope you picked, something like peaches instead of lima beans. But growing up poor like that, I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I found an opportunity to approach things differently. And for myself, for my family, it's been a good thing. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want my family to experience that again, and so I went down this road, and it's been a fabulous experience. And I get to give back. You know, so many people help me along the way. I finally get to give back to people that helped me along the way as well.
That's awesome. That's an incredible story. Now, one of the things I think is really important for people to note, you really focus on working with people who are, 5 to 10 years from retirement, preparing for retirement, and even if they had another advisor work with them in the past, it's often not the case that the person who helped you accumulate the money knows enough to help you distribute the money. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And kind of like I mentioned before, the whole idea about growing wealth is really great when you're 30 and 40 and maybe even to your 50s. But at some point, you need to start thinking about, do I want to continue to grow it, or do I want to protect it and preserve it and distribute it tax efficiently? You know, I have a master's degree in tax. I'm an attorney. So it's an important thing to figure out the person who got me here. He did it all based on how much risk could I tolerate getting me to this point. And at some point, you really have to start thinking about, I can't take those ups and downs in the market. It doesn't make sense to have to go back to work and hand out smiley faces at a Walmart because you had 3 or 4 years of bad market. So taking a more conservative approach, figuring out how to have a systematic income stream that you and your spouse will not outlive, that's a different approach than most advisors take. And that's what we do at our firm.
Absolutely. And most advisors really are someone who's pushing product for a broker. Right, and they're not really, they're a salesman, not really thinking in your best interest. And I know that that's not how your firm works. But let's talk to you about, you touched on the fact that you have a legal background as well and tax planning. And I want people to understand that this is not, they probably haven't heard of a holistic program like you have, but it's not because it's voodoo or black magic or anything like that. It's common sense, but not common knowledge. Let's talk a little bit about the way you plan so people can preserve their income.
Well, again, it's taking a look at what are the goals. That's always the start of the conversation. Actually, we start with the conversation with our retirees about what's retirement going to look like for you, because most husband and wives have never spent more than maybe 2 weeks together. They're going to all of a sudden be spending 12 to 14 hours a day together for the next 20 or 30 years. So they really need to come to terms with what their retirement's going to look like with each other, because it's different. But then we really delve into how much risk do we need to take? Where does the money need to be situated? How can we protect it not only for you and for your spouse, but also the kids? But it has to be tax efficient. Not only tax efficient as you're taking it out, but tax efficient when you pass it on to the next generation. It needs to be tax efficient for legacy planning, for estate tax planning. And that's what we do that's, again, different than what you get from most planners. Most of the time, you get that, sorry, it's not my job. You need to go talk to an estate planning attorney. Sorry, it's not my job. You need to go talk to a CPA. We bring it to the table where we have our CPAs. I have a master's degree in tax. I have 5 financial planners working for me. And it's a nice holistic approach where you can come into one spot and get everything you need and do it in such a way that you can sleep at night during retirement. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you worked hard for it all this time. It doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you keep at the end of the day. And that's really what it's all about for us.
That's a very, very important point. It's what you keep, because taxation can kill you.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, even in the distribution process, you basically already paid tax on the way in, and if you don't plan correctly, you'll pay on the way out too. Tell me this, I know you must have hundreds of stories of some great clients you've worked with, but what's one of maybe your favorite stories about a client you were able to help?
You know, I think there was a woman named Hilda. She was one of my first clients, and she was a wonderful woman, but Depression era child, so she had some very, very big concerns about the market, and she came aboard in the early 90s, and it took me probably about a year and a half of hand-holding to get her to the point where she was comfortable actually taking her money out of the mutual funds that the wirehouse guy had put her in, and I wanted something a little bit more safe, a little bit more conservative for her. And literally, as we're making these changes, she said to me, "Michael, please don't let me eat dog food." I mean, that was her biggest concern, and she had better part of $1 million, and she was worried about running out of money, and I was trying to explain to her the problem about running out of money is because of the way it's situated now. You don't need the ups and downs of the market. Getting 20-30% returns is immaterial at this point in your life. You just don't want to lose 20 or 30%, and that's what we were getting at with her. And so I literally walked her into retirement, and I was a pallbearer for at our funeral. It was kind of a wonderful experience. You know, you get to hold her hands for a long time, and it was just a really neat experience with her.
And most importantly, you got to make sure she didn't outlast her money, right?
Right. And her kids inherited the money, and you know, she had literally the proverbial idiot son that when she told him that she was leaving him $500,000, she wanted to make sure that when he passed, it went to the grandkids, and he said no, he's going to give it to his friend. And so we had to do some trust work again, which was something that we bring to the table. We set up trust so that the money was for him, but upon his death, it goes to her grandchildren, so it stays in her bloodline, which again, that peace of mind at the end of the day.
Very, very good. So, you know, you're obviously a smart guy with lots of experience. I got to ask you this question. If you're going to distill it down, what's your best piece of advice to help people have peace of mind as they approach retirement?
Again, it goes back to take the least risk possible to accomplish your goals. Quit thinking about hitting these home runs. At this point in your life, you know, you made it here. You've done well. Look at what you've accomplished. You don't need to grow and grow and grow. You just need to make sure it's there for you so that you never have to stress about it. So I'd say take the least amount of risk possible to accomplish your goals, because again, it doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you keep at the end of the day.
Great advice. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people watching this in your area who would say, man, I want to talk to that guy and see if he's a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for him. How can they reach you, Michael?
Prostatis Advisors. So you can go to my website. You can call us at 866-597-1040. You can just Google Mike Canet. I'm all over the place, so you can find us pretty easily.
You're a financial media mogul. Mike Canet, great to have you on the show, man.
Thank you very much, Nick. It was a pleasure.